and welcome to another episode of Film Recommendations. In this episode, we're going to be talking about The Last Starfighter. Released in 1984, this film features an amazing cast and decent story matched with dazzling special effects and music comparable with the biggest budget sci-fi films of today. Right at the height of the Star Wars craze, with the last two films in the original trilogy having been released and still seeing play in theaters, The Last Starfighter makes amazing use of early computer graphics imaging, called CGI for the rest of this review. Oddly enough, the same special effects company had prepared a sample of some CGI model work back in 1978, the year after Star Wars was released, to showcase what they could do with the X-Wing fighter, animating an entire squadron. While the 20th Century Fox executives were unimpressed, the special effects crew at Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic Company were blown away. The skepticism by executives at the studio was a major reason why films like Disney's Tron, The Lion King, and The Brave Little Toaster were all originally supposed to be done with CGI, but were mostly or completely done with traditional hand-drawn animation from Korean and American studios. One interesting aspect of the Lorimar production company, better known for television productions, doing The Last Starfighter with CGI, is that they were able to effect realistic movements guided by actual physics, something which was not seen again until the Warner Brothers television series Babylon 5 came on the air in the mid-90s, around a decade later. The Last Starfighter also features amazing music by Craig Safan and is comparable to the music of John Williams for Star Wars and other films. However, musically, its closest resemblance is to the music from Battlestar Galactica. Now, after this point, there are spoilers, so you've been warned. The credits sequence starts with a view of planet Rylos, but we quickly travel faster than light, with blue in front of us and red behind us as the credits appear. That's right, the faster-than-light travel element that was so highly praised with the opening of Doctor Who in recent years is actually as old as CGI in space adventure films. The credits sequence also serves a similar purpose to the opening overture of Star Trek The Motion Picture, wherein many of the various main themes or the turns of the story are introduced to represent the whole story as we see the names appear on screen. Musically, this provides an illustration of the action taking place in each scene. Lance Guest and Catherine Mary Stewart play the two main protagonists, Alex and Maggie, respectively. It is hard to not compare this film to Star Wars, so I will just analogize a little to that film throughout this review. Alex and Maggie are essentially two halves of the same character, Luke Skywalker, if you really want to make a Star Wars comparison. But they also differ in ways other than being two people in a heterosexual relationship. Alex wants to make something great of himself and is waiting to hear back about college. He and Maggie live outside of a small town at a hillside trailer park, what many would consider the slums of the sticks. Most of the other kids his age just want to get drunk, fool around, and do not have aspirations for their lives, except for Maggie and Alex, who grew up poor and are driven to do better than others because they do not have as many privileges and freedoms as a lot of the others. In the opening scene of Morning at Starlight Starbright Trailer Park, a name synonymous with making wishes, we see that people live a very routine life in this little village or enclave. Lewis is a mischievous kid obsessed with outer space, whose mother is the manager of the trailer park. It is through Lewis that we find our hero, Alex. We do not see a husband or father, so it is fair to assume that something happened to Alex and Lewis's father that nobody talks about. As a paternal orphan, it fell to Alex to take up the mantle of patriarch in the family for all the handyman work around the park, while his mother worked as waitress in town. If the father ran off, it might not make sense that Alex is as willing to prove himself. Alex is known for being bright and talented, getting the highest score on the Starfighter game at the trailer park store. The Starfighter game is really a test that evaluates your potential as the gunner of a fast, powerful ship called a Gunstar.
Good morning, Space Son Lewis.
Earthling.
Lewis!
Yoo-hoo, Jane! Elvira's electric is out again, and she's gonna get hyper if she can't see her soaps.
Granny, tell Elvira that Alex will be over to patch her electric in time for the soap.
I'll tell her, Jane. Elvira!
Louis!
Elvira!
Louis! Go tell Alex that I need him.
Beware, aliens. Lewis, Rogue, and the Cosmic Cadet. The Space Avenger is on your case.
Greetings, Starfighter.
Robert Preston, best known for his portrayal of Harold Hill in The Music Man, was specifically sought for the role of Centauri, the shyster video game developer from outer space who is amazed to find Alex has the skills, and takes him without his knowing to the world of Rylos. On Rylos, Alex finds out he's been conscripted into a war against an enemy who will soon break through the frontier space barrier to invade the Star League.
Starfighter. Star Navigator First Class Grig, at your service, sir.
This may come as a bit of a shock to you.
But he doesn't want to be a starfighter.
Doesn't want to be a... Are you a coward? Are you crazy?
You didn't tell me about any of this.
Meanwhile, Maggie deals with a replicant android who is taking Alex's place back home, leading to some very weird activity.
Well, for one thing, I'd be trying to enjoy myself. Leaning back, kidding around, laughing.
Laughing?
Well, it's a start, Alex.
Laughing. I'm not Alex Rogan.
What?
I'm a beta unit. I'm an exact duplicate of Alex. See, he's up there saving the universe while I'm down here for target practice. See?
Alex decides that he wants to go home, but upon arrival finds that some thugs have been sent by the enemy to kill him. He signals Centauri to take him back to fight the enemy, accepting the chance to prove himself, or at least die trying, to keep his homeworld safe. Unknown to them both, the Starfighter base is completely destroyed due to a saboteur. With the help of the only surviving pilot, a reptilian named Grig, played by Dan O'Herlihy, better known for his role in RoboCop, Alex takes a specially modified Gunstar out to the frontier, where Alex is still unsure about his ability to fight the enemy. He ends up winning a battle against some enemy ships already inside the barrier, and realizes that he can actually try to do this. Maggie witnesses the death of the android Alex and pledges her love to him, which seems to give Alex, without his knowledge, the strength and cunning he needs to save the day, and defeat an entire armada in a classic battle of David versus Goliath.
I love you, Alex Rogan.
6.
Heads-up display. Check.
5.
Lasers.
Weapons on! Have them now! Fire! Fire!
Alex returns home afterward to say goodbye and to take Maggie with him. She has her doubts, but she decides to go with him, and they ride off into the starlight. As for the conclusion, The Last Starfighter is rather dated, but features some stronger, more adolescent themes from that of Star Wars. Not everything is about magic or destiny, but sometimes it is about talent, practice, and confidence. Nothing is cute in this movie, except maybe for Alex's little brother because he's a boy. The realities of people dying come in a classic story arc for the hero to lose everything he had before in order to stand up in a romantic image against an overwhelming obstacle. His desire to return home and the changes that occur in him are not unlike those of Odysseus or Lemuel Gulliver. In the future, I could actually see Maggie taking an even greater role than Alex, as the film shows that human insights are what the Star League is lacking in order to help them meet with their challenges. Maggie and Alex are humble, and that is why they are heroes. They do not suffer from pride or hubris, just a desire to do what's right. Growing up, this movie was a mainstay of basic cable weekend programming, but looking at it now, I am disappointed in the lack of a role for women. Among the starfighters, women are not really pilots, gunners, or commanders, although some of the aliens are hard to determine sexually. They mostly work supportive roles, which is disappointing. Maggie is mostly worried about taking care of her grandmother, and we do not know what happened to Alex's father, as I already mentioned. But with single parent or guardian families, it is understandable that these two would bond together without a lot of understanding from the rest of the world. If we take a look at this film from Maggie's perspective, what is in it for her? She gets to be his girlfriend or wife? I think that from Alex's perspective, he has to forge the path to get Maggie out of there with him, not as an object, but as his best friend and confidant. Their relationship is like that of the Van Morrison song Brown Eyed Girl. But Maggie isn't sure if she should let herself commit to Alex if things don't work out or something happens to her grandmother, who is her only family left. It is hard to make a story full of tropes into one with better roles for women in the story, but when you consider that Grig's species might be hermaphroditic or switch sexes as many reptile and amphibian species do, it is a gray area whether or not the story abides by patriarchal gender roles. Now for some mind blowers. The Star car was built with a Volkswagen engine that could not get the car to go very fast. I think in the commentary on the DVD they say it averages about 30 miles per hour. Anyway, so in scenes when the car is tearing down the road, the footage is actually sped up, including when the police squad car sways a little bit. It's actually slowly swaying, but you don't see that because they sped up the film. Also, the set of the Star car was a separate piece from the actual vehicle, meaning that scenes had to be staged carefully to seamlessly meld.
Flea speck trailer park in the middle of tumbleweeds and tarantulas. So it must be fate, destiny, blind chance, luck even that brings us together. And as the poet says, the rest is history.
Hey, hit the brakes! Greg! Hey, Greg!
Alex!
You got the tart. He's hurt. He's right over here.
This was Robert Preston's last role in film, after his death in 1987. Preston was known for playing various cowboys on TV until his breakthrough performance in The Music Man. This gave him a gateway into playing major roles in Victor Victoria, opposite Julie Andrews, and in Maine, starring Lucille Ball. When I was growing up, my big brother told me that all the effects were done on a Macintosh computer that had subsequently exploded shortly after the filming was done. Although most of the special effects for this film could be done today in a month or so, using common animation software and equipment, at the time the production company used a supercomputer the size of a couple of refrigerators to produce the scenes. Animators worked around the clock to design and render models and motion for the camera that had never been seen before. The female assistant who escorts Alex from the Star car through Starfighter Command is actually the director's wife.
Ring Tinsy. Guitar. Guitar.
If you freeze frame the scene with Alex and Beta shaking hands, you can actually see that Beta is in some clothes, probably from a charity shop, but the face is actually obscured. A later shot of Beta under the covers of Alex's bed was done with a small air pump pushing air in and out from under a membrane that to show Beta morphing into a copy of Alex. So even in brief shots, we don't know what Beta is until the reveal. One of the cuter scenes for Beta, also played by Lance Guest, is after he observes an agent of Zur and the Kodan landing in the distance while he has his head detached. The hand rubs the bridge of the disembodied head's nose. Little nuances like that give this film such a rich and complex tone from beginning to end. In the scene where Alex and Grig take on a Zurian ship that is a sort of a group of traders who live within the frontier, the Zurian ship is stopped but its drive thrusters are still firing. In reality, this would not let the ship stop, but would actually push it into the cave wall. This is one of the very few scenes that is hard to explain, but we can give the animators a break since this was the first use of CGI on this level. The pictures of Grigg and his partner were apparently snapshots of Dan O'Herlihy in the Grigg makeup and a dress, with a model of Grigg's head standing in for shots where they were together. This film was among the first that Universal Studios put out in the new DVD format. This is evidenced by the release date of 2000 for the DVD, but also by conspicuous use of specialized icons to indicate what is what for every menu item. The idea was that you could learn the icons and refer to those rather than the listings in the menu, but the icons were only easy to identify on a larger screen, really. The DVD comes with loads of added features, though, including a very good making-of documentary. Finally, before anyone puts down The Last Starfighter for lack of originality as another David and Goliath story, notice how the bridge of the Kodan ship is a lot like that of the Trade Federation from The Phantom Menace. Is it a possible homage later on in The Phantom Menace? I think so.
You copy our star angle difference in parking angle. Delta Beta 2 at 6. Delta Gamma 3 at 5.
And now for some cheap sketch material I threw together for you.
I am Oz, the great and powerful.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
It's only a model.
Star League justice put down your Syrian cult. Your followers are few and scattered.
Star League! A refuge for weak worlds not worthy to be our equal!
Every time I try to talk to someone, it's sorry this and forgive me that and I'm not worthy.
Seize him!
How dare you? I am the Emperor of Rylos! I and I alone command this entire Release me! I command you! You will pay for this with your life!
What an eccentric performance.
Damage report! Guidance system out. Auxiliary steering out. Divert! Divert! She won't answer the helm. We're locked into the moon's gravitational pull. What do? We die.
To be or not to be.
Starfighter, you have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zor and the Kodan Armada.
Of course, you'd have the help of an old friend.
An old friend, who?
Please observe me if you will. I'm Professor Harold Hill.